Hello, my name is Eliron Branchong and my pairing is Gayatri Epi Rajkumar. And today my group present about the cognitive approach, behavior and humanistic in learning.
Good day, everyone. I'm Gayatri. Learning theories are important because they help educators understand how students learn, process information, and develop new skills. By understanding these theories, teacher can choose a appropriate teaching method that meets the different learnings needs of students. In this presentation, we will discuss three major approaches to learning: the conjunctive, behaviorist, and humanist approaches. For each approach, we will explain its theoretical foundation, introduce the major theorists and their contributions, demonstrate how it can be applied in the classroom setting, and evaluate its strengths and limitations. Finally, we will compare how these theories influence teaching practice and students' learning outcome. Let's begin with the conjunctive approach. The conjunctive approach views learning as an active mental process. Rather than simply receiving information, learners actively think, interpret, organize, and apply knowledge. This means that learning involves mental activities such as memory, perception, reasoning, and problem solving. Three important theories contributed to this approach. The first one is Jean Piaget, who proposed the cognitive development theory. Piaget believed that children progress throughout different stages of cognitive development and construct knowledge throughout experience. The second theory is Lev-Vygotsky, who introduced the concept of social contractive and the zone of proximal development or ZPD. He believed that students learn more effectively throughout interaction with teachers and peers, especially when appropriate guidance is provided. The third theorist is Jeremy Benner, who introduced discovery learning and the concept of scaffolding. According to Benner, students learn best when they actively discover concepts with support from the teacher, who gradually reduce assistance as learners become more independent. The conjunctive approach is based on several important principles. Learning involves actively constructing knowledge instead of passively receiving information. Learners connect new knowledge with their existing experience, which are whom as schemas. Meaningful learning is achieved throughout inquiry, reflection, discussion, and problem solving activities. Teachers play the role of facilitators by providing guidance and scaffolding throughout the learning process. Overall, the conjunctive approach assumes that learners actively construct knowledge. Learning focuses on understanding rather than memorizing, and conjunctive development progress throughout experience, interaction, and reflection. Now, let's look at how the conjunctive approach can be applied in real classroom. In this example, a Form 1 Bahasa Melayu teacher asked students to create a mind map before writing an essay entitled My Holiday Experience. The lesson begins with brainstorming section where the teacher encourages students to recall and discuss their own holiday experience. This activates their prior knowledge and prepare them for the writing task. Next, students organize their idea using a mind map. They identify the main event, supporting details, and sequence of ideas before writing their essay. During the process, students also discuss their ideas with classmates, allowing them to learn correlate- collaboratively. The teacher provides scaffolding by asking guidance questions, giving constructive feedback, and assisting students who require additional support. As a result, students develop better organization skills, strengthen their critical and creative thinking abilities, improve their problem solving skills, and retain information more effectively because learning is meaningful and connected to their own experience. One major strength of the contestive approach is that it promotes high order thinking skill, conceptual understanding, and independent learning. However, one limitation is that it requires careful lesson planning, sufficient classroom time, and continuous teacher support. It may also be challenging to implement in large or mixed ability classroom where students have different learning needs. Next, we will discuss the behaviorist approach. The behaviorist approach explains learning as exchange in observable behavior that occur through interaction between environmental stimuli and learners' response. Unlike the conjunctive approach, behaviorism focus on behavior that can be observed and measured. Three major theories contributed to this theory, same as cognitive theory. The first is Ivan Pavlov, who developed classical conditioning. His research demonstrated that behavior can be learned by associating a neutral stimulus with natural response. The second is John B. Button, who believed that behavior is primarily shaped by environmental influences and that psychology should focus on observable behavior rather than internal mental process. The third is B.F. Skinner, who introduced operant conditioning. Skinner argued that behavior is influenced by its consequences. Positive reinforcement encourages desirable behavior, while punishment reduces undesirable behavior. The behaviorist approach is based on several key principles. Learning occurs through stimulus response associate. Behavior is strengthened through reinforcement. Repetition and practice improve learning. Immediate feedback supports behavioral change. And learning outcomes should be observable and measurable. This approach assumes that environmental factors have significant influence on learning. Motivation is mainly driven by external reward and consequence, and effective teaching requires structured instruction with continuous practice and reinforcement. From an educational perspective, teachers use the behaviorist approach by providing praise, reward, classroom management strategies, and consistent feedback to encourage positive behavior and improve student academic performance. Thank you. I will pass to Aaron. Well,
This slide shows an example of application of the behavioral approach in a secondary school classroom. The situation given is that the teacher give merit point to students who submit their homework on time. This strategy use the concept of positive reinforcement introduced by B.F. Skinner through the operant conditioning theory. When students receive rewards such as merit point, they are more likely to repeat good behavior in the future. Among the advantage of this strategy is that it can increase student motivation, encourage discipline from positive behavior, and foster a sense of responsibility of learning. In addition, this approach is also effective in manage behavior in the classroom because the teacher can provide immediate feedback and reinforce desired behavior. However, there are also disadvantages. Students may become too dependent on external reward. When rewards are no longer given, their motivation to perform good behavior may decrease. This slide explains the humanistic approach to learning. This approach focuses on emotional development, personal growth, and self-actualization among students. The primary goals of this approach is to help students reach their full potential. And Miss see the and we see the slide. The two key figures associated with this approach are Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers. Abraham Maslow introduced the hierarchy of needs theory, which demonstrates that basic needs such as safety and affection must be met before an individual can achieve self-actualization. Meanwhile, Carl Rogers emphasizes student-centered learning and the importance of positive relationship between teacher and student. Furthermore, the humanistic approach perceives that every student possesses the potential of growth. Emotional also play a vital role in the learning process. Therefore, a positive and supportive learning environment can change student motivation and achievement. In conclusion, for this slide, the humanistic approach helps shape students who excel not only academically but also in terms of emotional well-being and personal development. Next, I will explain the application of the humanistic approach in the classroom. In the humanistic approach, teachers focus not only on student academic achievement but also on their emotional and social development as well as their personal potential. This approach emphasizes the importance of creating a positive and supportive learning environment. For instance, upon completing lesson, the teacher conduct a reflection session and encourage students to share their feelings, experience, and the challenge they incurred during the learning process. Through this uh, these activities, students are given the opportunity to express their opinion and reflect on the learning. Such activity helps students build self-confidence, strengthen the teacher-student relationship, and create a more positive and comfortable learning environment. One of the strengths of the humanistic approach is that support the holistic development of students encompassing intellectual, emotional, and social aspects. Furthermore, this approach enhances student intrinsic motivation to learn. However, the humanistic approach also has certain limitation. For instance, student emotional development and change in attitude are difficulty to measure objectively. Additionally, this approach demands more time and communication skill from the teacher. In conclusion, for this slide, the humanistic approach play a vital role in help student development into balanced and confident individual. The slides show a comparison of three major approaches in education. The cognitive approach focuses on student through process and memory. In this approach, the teacher acts as a facilitator who helps students control knowledge. The behavior approach, on the other hand, emphasizes observable behavior. This teacher play the role of a control who was reward and punishment to shape student behavior. Finally, this humanistic approach emphasizes student emotional emotion, and personal development. The teacher acts a guide who support the development of the student potential and will-being. In conclusion, each learning theory has own strength and weakness. No one theory can be considered the best for all learning situations because each theory has a different role in assisting the teaching and learning process. Therefore, teacher needs to choose the most appropriate approach based on the needs of student, learning objective, and the situation in the classroom. Choosing the right approach can help students achieve learning outcomes more effectively. In addition, the combination of cognitive, behavior, and humanistic approach can create a more meaningful and comprehensive learning experience. This approach not only helps improve student academic achievement but also support the development of thinking skill, positive behavior, and their emotional and social development. That's all the present about my group. Thanks you. This is references we use to this assignment.